So I made a video on how government in the US is less responsive to public opinion than dictatorships are. I put it on BitChute, so go ahead and watch it there. Link in the description. It's a very heavily edited video. I put a lot of time into it, and I made it because I was with my family over the Christmas time, and I was thinking about the kinds of things that you can share with your family, and I made this video as something you can share with your family. Also, on BitChute, you can get email notifications for when a video pops up on any particular users or all the people you're subscribed to. So on your account, just go to Settings and then click Notifications, and you can check Insight and email notifications either for everyone or for specific people you're subscribed to there. So frankly, I would rather people subscribe on BitChute to get email notifications there than on YouTube, since Google screws around with the subscriber feed and the algorithm and all that. And also, it helps to grow BitChute itself. Also, no comments on BitChute videos for now until they find a way to allow me to moderate comments. On BitChute, it's either or. You either allow all comments or you allow no comments. They don't have proper moderation settings on there, and I think it's because they're using Disqus, and it would be a nightmare to try to get individual users to be able to moderate Disqus on underneath their videos. So I understand the issue there. But for me, I don't want random people to be able to post anything they want under my videos, because they're going to post all sorts of stuff that is not necessarily incorrect, but just sort of smells bad. Right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, that comment that you made here, saying a bunch of stuff about, oh, Jews own this and that, and a comment saying that a lot of things that sort of, there may not be anything particular in the comment that is obviously wrong. There may be stuff that's debatable, but the thing is, the whole comment just kind of smells like conspiracy tube sort of stuff. And I just don't want those comments there. Because it doesn't help, because I'm thinking about like random people coming to the video and first impressions, and if they see comments like that, they may just click off because they'll go, oh, this video smells like conspiracy tube, right? Even though the video may not be may not give off that stank if you just watch the video itself alone in isolation. And even if the comments themselves don't say any one thing in particular that is false, it just smells like conspiracy. I know, which, yeah, okay, it's an FBI orchestrated term. Okay, whatever. But regarding dictators being more responsive to the general population, this makes sense once you realize that a dictator is usually just a president who managed to destroy the other branches of government and reform the bureaucracy to carry out his will. Or in the US, we would use sort of a shorthand, which is the president destroyed the deep state. And not just the deep state, but literally the courts and Congress and the bureaucracy itself. Now, in such a situation, all the previous power centers, power nodes, they're gone. The corporations, the press, professional politicians, judges, lawyers. And now, when you have a dictator, there's now two groups that the dictator has to worry about: the military and the general population. And of course, the military comes from the general population. So serving the military and the masses are kind of related. It's two separate groups, but they're deeply intertwined. And so we can expect dictators to be responsive to the needs of the military and the general public from which the soldiers hail. Democracy, in contrary to that, democracy functions as a kind of jujitsu, because it allows people to transfer their energy into, useless electoral politics or court battles. Whereas if electoral politics and court battles didn't exist, they would begin to focus on real solution, which is to say, direct action. And a democracy, or a convincing sham of a democracy, I should say, it makes people think that there's elections and like courts. So these are little systems that you can spend your time and effort in trying to do court cases or trying to win elections. And let's say you win an election. Well, the politician you elect can be convinced to just not implement whatever policy you want, or the bureaucracy can just ignore it and just keep doing what they want to do. Or if the bureaucracy is ultimately forced to do the thing you want them to do, they can then just go back after a little while. Even if you've won the day, even if you've gotten through all the layers, it's like, okay, well, how long are they going to do it? Maybe once the politician is out, the bureaucracy can just ignore the new law and go back to the old ways that they wanted to do things. And I think the same can happen with a court case. A court case can establish a precedent, but other judges and lawyers can just ignore it. And you can't be everywhere. And that's the problem. This is a problem of persistence. You have all these organs of government, and it's like they're like water, and they're just constantly doing what they want wherever they can, and they have to be forced to do things they don't want to do. and so you can force them. And the thing is, in order to force them to do what they don't want to do, like for example, build a wall, stop immigration, you have to elect politicians to do that. And there's all the problems with that, because you got to get the politicians in place. You got to then find a way to hold their feet to the fire to actually do what they said they were going to do. And then once they get the law passed, then you have to hold the bureaucracy's feet to the fire to get them to do what they said, what is on the books as law, to actually enforce the law. And so there's all these layers. And even if you succeed in doing that, for example, in the U.S., you had, I think it was Eisenhower had an Operation Wetback, and they did that. But then, 10, 20 years later, the establishment just sort of goes back to doing what it wants to do, which is mass importation of scabs, right? There's a whole continent called South America, and it's full of scabs that are designed to, well, they're not designed to, but the function is that they drive down labor, prevent labor organization, and make life easier for the establishment, reduce the relative bargaining power of labor. No need to go down that rabbit hole. So, but the thing is, real power, as Mao said, emanates from the barrel of a gun. And to have real power, what you have to do is you have to control the guns in the forms of army, police, secret police, and the loyalties of the masses. They're all related, and they all sort of flow into each other, right? I'm not one-dimensional when I say the guns. What is martial power is a broad thing, and there's different levels of martial power, and they can be in opposition to each other. Like the local militia, one local militia can be in opposition to another local militia, or they can be in opposition to the police, or the police can be in opposition to the secret police, or the secret police can be in opposition to I'm not one-dimensional on this stuff. But usually they're in some sort of broad agreement. But so to control them, to control the guns, you have to control the fantasy structures the guns believe in. In the U.S., that's like courts, the House and Senate, the presidency. In other places, in other times in history, the guns listened to some religious thing, or they believed some family was in charge. That's why elites always either want to destroy or co-opt religion, because it's potentially a competing MacGuffin. Right? Because the guns, they need a MacGuffin to believe in. And it's why you're seeing all these megacorps co-opting social justice. The Occupy movement could have been a serious challenge to the establishment, but instead, the megacorps find it easier to just mold social justice around ultra-capitalism. You know, like Bernie Sanders used to go around saying, yeah, open borders, that's a Koch brothers idea designed to destroy the bargaining power of labor. Bernie went around saying that, but now he's pro open borders. Okay, and that's just sort of the co-opting. That's the big business co-opting, what is, broadly defined as social justice, or the people that are put into the label category social justice, whatever. So the contours of the state are defined by who the guns believe in. And ultimately, the guns are in charge. Ultimately, it's the great masses of men with weaponry who decide what policy is. And to control those men with weaponry, you have to control their MacGuffins, or make new MacGuffins and convince the guns that you hold the MacGuffins, that you hold the mandate of heaven or whatever. Right now, the guns are tied to some idiotic notion of America, and that's killing them. You're in a pressure cooker you think is home, but home is where you make it, and no soil is sacred. You don't owe allegiance to any particular government, especially when they have no allegiance to you. As an aside, when I played Fallout 4 and they had this little faction called the Gunners, I thought maybe this is what they were referring to with the guns. Probably not, but I thought it was sort of interesting. You had this faction who, these people who, by all rights, they could rule, a big chunk of the world, but they need some MacGuffin to believe in, and they run around being mercenaries and supporting other factions with ideologies in the world, and they themselves are just the Gunners. And in this world today, it's the Constitution, the Bible, the Quran, or some airheaded maxims broadly labeled social justice, whatever. Now, Trump had the potential to shake things up, but he won't. What Trump is doing, he's being president, is what he's doing. He's obeying the courts. And as far as I can tell, there's no signs he's building up a loyal military force like the Praetorian Guard, Republican Guard, SS, NKVD, right, those kinds of things. And build that up, which he could then use to just do an outright hard power grab. If that were the case, then sure, laying low and playing the in-system game until your personal army is ready, that would be fine, but I don't think that's happening. I think Trump is trying to advance his agenda within the system, which is mostly going to fail because it has to go through all it has to travel through all the bullshit boxes, and what little gets through is just going to be reversed in a few years. So, but to solve the problem, you must first identify it, and it's an elite that mostly ignores public opinion and seems to ignore elections and even ignore the law after a matter of time. So what needs to be done is the system needs to be taken down root and branch. Like it's weird. It's like I've rediscovered, like kind of the edgy teenager anarchist stuff, which at the time, like, I just sort of believed because it seemed to be true and felt to be true. But now, like, there's good data that it is true, that, elections don't work. And perhaps the experience of Trump, I mean, it shouldn't be this way because Trump is just one. Well, it's more than one. It's a series of events that surround Trump. But it's just one sort of section of experience around Trump and winning an election and then not getting anything you want passed, that sort of has shocked a lot of people and has, I think, caused a lot of people to lose faith in the system overall and have started to think in much more radical ways. And you could say it's a more radical way, but I think trying to play this little game when it works the way I described, they could just ignore what you think and then ignore elections and then ignore even the law itself. I think it's a far more radical idea to think that change could occur within the system than without. And I think historically, real change occurs, external to the system. It results from creating new MacGuffins, not from trying to get the old ones. Now, that didn't happen previously. Right, these people we call the social justice people, they managed to steal the old MacGuffins. They stole the universities and now the corporations. So they basically stole the MacGuffins, but they did it because regular folks at the time just didn't fight back. They weren't. They just didn't resist it. Typically, if you're at a university and you have people who believe, a certain way, if you think, oh, I'm right and I want to advance my beliefs, and people who disagree with my beliefs are wrong, well, the correct thing to do then is to prevent them from coming in. The problem is you have this idea of free speech, right? And so the conservatives will say, thought, oh, well, we need to bring these people in because we need new ideas and we should explore ideas and we shouldn't be afraid to explore ideas. And so you bring in, the shit libs, and they come in, and whenever they have a chance, they promote their own and prevent conservatives from getting in anywhere, right? And so that's why, post World War II, the universities went from basically reflecting the values of the general population of the U.S. to having radically divergent values. Right? And it's just a simple matter of they discriminated, we didn't, and so they won. And a lot of people, I said this to my family, and they thought that was unfair or whatever. And I'm saying, look, no, they won fair and square. They're smart, we're dumb. The world is not patty cake. The world is not, a dinner party or whatever. It's the world is horrible people doing whatever they can to, cheat others and secure, the priest's robes and say, I'm the priest now, listen to me, gunners. It's, the world is a vampire. And if you're not willing to, and if you're too stupid to exist, then I don't know, are white people too stupid to exist? Well, okay, I guess. I don't know what's the point of crying over them if they're going to just not... if they just don't know how to deal. It's kind of crazy. So, anyway, that's a long sort of babble. Not too long, but a little babble. Go watch my video on BitChute. That's a better video. It's actually a video. It's not just a guy rambling into a microphone. It's an actual video that took me over 20 hours to make, right? Whereas this is just me babbling into a microphone for a few minutes. Anyway, so go to BitChute, watch that.